Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to another incredible, exciting installment of the Arcane Archive presents MetaTalks. And in today's astounding episode, we're gonna go back to a fun little topic that we've been quite enamored with these last few times. Sam, you want to tell the people what MetaTalk topic we're talking about today?
Yeah, we're continuing our subclass talks. So
Yeah,
our two
subclass
positive,
discussions.
it was
Yes.
supposed to originally be two positive, one negative. It's now turned into two positives, two negatives, where we take a look at two subclasses we like, and then we absolutely dumpster two other classes, with the intention of maybe fixing them if they're fixable or condemning them if they're not. Obviously, this is all opinion. But I'd say at least with some of the good and some of the bad classes, we've played them before.
Yeah.
So we do have some knowledge on how they actually work at a table, not just how we think they work at a
Yeah,
table.
no, we have some personal experience with the function, and the
Yeah.
actual mechanics behind it. So, we're not just, blowing smoke out of everybody's ass. You know what I mean?
I mean, like a little, but that's
always maybe
just
a
the
little
fun
bit of
part.
creative liberty that we have. This is supposed to be entertaining, of course, at the end of the day, but overall, audience, that's right. We're gonna go ahead and have our third subclass discussion again, going a little bit more. And obviously, we did talk a little bit about subclasses and stuff in our original, just overall class videos that we made.
What, our second or third video?
way back when. But these particular videos, these subclasses, are meant to kind of go a bit more of a deep dive into these specifics. A much more focused critique of these subclasses to highlight, their bonuses, their highs, and to really just run home their lows, and to really show you how bad the bad is and how good the good is. And with that, we're going to go ahead, as we always do with these, is we're going to start off telling you about a particular subclass that we find near and dear to our hearts, that we feel is just banging up there at the top of the weight class here. And for that today, though, we're going to start with Sam's favorite class, the Bard.
It is my favorite class, but this is your subclass pick.
This is my subclass pick for the Bard, and this is one of my favorite picks for the Bard. One of the best, I would say, just kind of all around in terms of both like role play as well as like combat mechanics and other aspects to it. I don't know if I would say it would be the most powerful of all of them, but it just provides so much meat to a character, an opportunity for that character. And again, a multitude of situations. And that is one aspect that I believe we've highlighted multiple times with these, is that one of the best subclasses are things that blend really well into their parent class, their full class, as well as providing just vast more options for the player to do. And so today's subclass pick for Bard is going to be College of Whispers. That's right, it turned into an ASMR video now.
Please no.
I mean,
not even for their sake, for mine.
As if our voices weren't already exceedingly smooth and silky and
speak for yourself. Speak for yourself.
But yes, College of Whispers Bard. We talked a little bit about this, I believe, in our original class episode, but now we're going to go a bit more in depth about it. So, most folk are happy to welcome a bard into their midst. Bards of the College of Whispers, however, use this to their advantage. They appear to be like any other bard, sharing news, singing songs, and telling tales to the audiences they gather. In truth, however, the College of Whispers teaches its students that they are wolves among sheep. These bards use their knowledge and magic to uncover secrets and turn them against others through extortion and threats. Many other bards hate the College of Whispers, viewing it as a parasite that uses a bard's reputation to acquire wealth and power. For this reason, members of this college rarely reveal their true nature, and they typically claim to follow some other college, or they keep their actual calling secret in order to infiltrate and exploit royal courts and other settings of power. Yeah, right then and there, you can see just the absolute, powerhouse of RP that like passage alone provides for this subclass. The initial College of Whispers features the extra abilities that you get. You get only 3 extra abilities for this subclass, one at 3rd level, one at 6th, and then one at 14th. Your first feature that you get at level 3 is known as Psychic Blades. When you join the College of Whispers at 3rd level, you gain the ability to make your weapon attacks magically toxic to a creature's mind. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can expend 1 use of your Bardic Inspiration to deal an extra 2d6 psychic damage to that target. You may only do so once per round on your turn. The psychic damage increases when you reach certain levels in this class, increasing to 3d6 at 5th level, and then 5d6 at 10th, and finally a whopping 8d6 at 15th level. This alone, like again, that is a great boon and bonus to your bard right there. To be fair, like bards, they already have, like, again, they are a mix of more mundane combat and magic combat, obviously. Bards, in terms of their magical prowess, are much more supportive overall rather than outright offensive in a lot of ways. And so that's obviously supplemented by the fact that bards usually are also pretty skillful with weaponry and equipment and items. And so obviously here with the Psychic Blades, the only caveat with it is that you can only utilize it if you hit with a weapon attack specifically. But the cool thing being is it's psychic damage, which very few things in the game are inherently resistant to. Only very specific demographic, like again, aberrations, a lot of Underdark dwellers or denizens, but a lot of things you're just going to be able to and you have to expend a use of your Bardic Inspiration, which also may be like a not super great aspect to it, because otherwise you're kind of choosing between, supporting your party or basically just dealing more outright damage to a creature. But it's still a really nice and decent option to provide for your bard if you're like feeling like you want to deal a little bit more straight up damage to an enemy rather than just go the role of support, and then obviously this particular ability gets pretty crazy powerful at higher levels. Again, at 5th level, you get 3d6, at 10th, 5d6, and then a whopping 8d6 at 15th. Like, that's a heck of a bomb to drop. And then again, at 15th level, you'd also probably at that point have a pretty decent weapon to go along with this attack as well. Like, so you'll probably be dealing anywhere, like, let's say you have like a flame tongue weapon. You would literally be dealing a total of 11d6 of damage with that flame tongue weapon at that point. If you had like a flame tongue short sword or scimitar or something like that. You could even be dealing, with a rapier, like, 1d8 and then 10d6 of damage after that, which nothing to sneeze at. Also at 3rd level, however, you have an ability known as Words of Terror. At 3rd level, you learn to infuse innocent-seeming words with an insidious magic that can inspire terror. If you speak to a humanoid alone for at least 1 minute, you can attempt to seed paranoia in its mind. At the end of the conversation, the target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC or be frightened of you or another creature of your choice. The target is frightened in this way for 1 hour until it is attacked or damaged, or until it witnesses its allies being attacked or damaged. If the target succeeds on its saving throw, the target has no hint that you tried to frighten it. And once you use this feature, you cannot use it again until you finish a short or long rest. Now, again, right then and there, like at level 3, you get 2 separate abilities that each help to bolster 2 different aspects of the game. One being in combat, and the second one being role play. Like, that is awesome. Words of Terror, like being able to and to be fair, it is a little bit of a specific requirement to activate the ability, whereas you have to speak to a humanoid specifically alone for at least 1 minute.
Yeah.
Which, again, to be fair, for bards, isn't probably too difficult to really to basically maneuver a person into
it's really not hard.
Like it, and it really is also kind of subject for interpretation, because alone could also be like you just kind of maybe move them over to a more enclosed space, right? And the two of you are effectively alone, whereas no one else is actively engaging with you, right? The two of you
Yeah.
are kind of like just interacting maybe at like a corner of the room where nobody else is really inhabiting or interacting. Like one could then potentially, you know, submit that this is technically qualifies as the two of us kind of being alone. You know, nobody else is engaging or interacting with us, and I'm speaking directly to them, just the two of us for 1 minute. And again, it doesn't require you to make, it doesn't require like spell components. It's not a spell. It's just magic that you can literally intertwine with your words. And they don't even know. And once more, you force them to make a wisdom save against your spell save DC. And even if they succeed, they have no idea that you even tried anything at all to begin with. That's one of like the biggest, the coolest parts about this. And a lot of other aspects of this subclass as well is that it makes it where it's like you can try to subtly influence, manipulate, and control individuals, and they will have no idea that you tried anything at all.
It's the dark version of the glamour bard, where they have one where if you talk to them, they're just they're your friend, and there's no save. They have no idea. Like it's not there is a save, but they have no idea. Like if they pass the save, they have no idea you tried anything. It's stuff like it is just pure charisma in the best way.
And what's interesting is that they're utilizing the frightened condition in a non-combat situation. And so you have to also think about that at that point, right? I was like, how would that translate to RP specifically, right? If a creature is truly just frightened of you, like how would that really work in an RP encounter rather than a combat encounter in terms of how you interact with that person, right? If they are magically terrified and frightened of you, it's hard to believe that they wouldn't be just as easily placated, or not placated, as easily like manipulated and like willing to help you as if you were like, you know, their best friend, right? Person who's charmed by you, they're much more willing to help you, to do things for you, and to obey certain like suggestions you might have. A creature that is frightened, I would submit, would be far more willing to obey orders, demands, and to heed threats that you proposition or that you propose to them. And in that way might even be a little bit more efficient in executing certain desires or orders or objectives that you want from them. All around, level 3, you automatically get 2 abilities that will just, again, stay pretty prominent throughout your entire career with this subclass of Bard. Moving on to the next feature that you gain at level 6, it is known as Mantle of Whispers. And this thing is kind of busted. This thing is kind of crazy, actually. At 6th level, you gain the ability to adopt a humanoid's persona. When a humanoid dies within 30 feet of you, you can magically capture its shadow using your reaction, and you retain the shadow until you use it or finish a long rest. Now, that already right there, you might realize is also very Fey-like in nature too. And you're going to see a lot of kind of similarities between, as Sam just said, the Glamour Bard and then the Whisper Bard, just kind of on the opposite ends, like similar to the Seelie Court and the Unseelie Court in the Fae. But you can use this shadow that you have captured with an action. When you do so, it vanishes, magically transforming into a disguise that appears on you. You now look like the dead person, but healthy and alive. This disguise lasts for 1 hour or until you end it as a bonus action. While you're in the disguise, you gain access to all information that the humanoid would freely share with a casual acquaintance. So you might not know all their deepest, darkest secrets, but you gain access to all casual information, or all information that the humanoid would freely share with a casual acquaintance. Still somebody that they would be, you know, open to and you know, semi-trusting of, in terms of like the fact that it's like, hey, I like this person, you know, to a certain extent. Such information includes general details on its background and personal life, but doesn't include secrets. But there are other ways that you can most likely get those secrets from that person. Such as with your previous ability, your words of terror. But either way, it has a little bit more to it in terms of your Mantle of Whispers. While you're in the disguise, you gain the information is enough that you can pass yourself off as the person by drawing on its memories. So you're able to still pretty effectively pass yourself off as this individual that has already gone. You stole their shadow and a lot of their basically surface level memories and thoughts. Another creature can see through this disguise by succeeding on a wisdom insight check contested by your charisma deception check. However, you get a +5 bonus to your check in any of these attempts. Once you capture a shadow with this feature, you can't capture another one with it until you finish a short or long rest. So if you're, playing this subclass to the best of its abilities, at this point, you would have already had expertise in deception, along with persuasion, most likely, but even just deception. And with this ability, you would then on top of that gain a +5 bonus to your check. Your charisma is no doubt your highest stat. We'll even say at 6th level, you might even potentially have it at an 18 or 20 at this point.
Well, let's see here, right? This is at 6th level, right?
Yep. 6th level, I believe your proficiency bonus is +3.
So if you have expertise, that's we'll say for the sake of this argument,
+6.
We'll say you're at a 16 at least. Well, 18 makes more sense.
It would be at least an 18 at 6th level.
You're at
least
+4,
a +4.
+6, so you're at a
10, and then with this +5,
+15.
You have a +15 to deception at level 6 for this particular ability to masquerade as somebody else.
Yeah.
There's almost, unless you're like facing, the BBEG of your campaign, who is supposed to be leagues ahead of you already, there's just almost no way that you can fail at this point.
It's the realistic thing is it's supposed to make you believable. Like that's what it is. It's supposed to make you believable. Let's also see
here, on top of the fact that at Jack of all trades, we also have that. Let's see, Song of Rest, what their 6th level. Okay, so you don't quite have even if you didn't have like expertise or whatever in it, that's crazy.
I mean, +15 is nothing to sneeze at.
So no, +15 is insane already. I was thinking for a minute, but I was thinking of rogues, where it's like they have reliable talent and you can't roll lower than.
You can, I think, get both if you build a character.
You can. If you multiclass, like I've done that before, where it's crazy. But it's so overall, this Mantle of Whispers provides you with, again, even more incredible roleplay opportunities and much more specific infiltration abilities and opportunities than a lot of other classes or even spells can afford. Because again, this isn't a spell that's happening now. You're not like casting Soul Cage to grab it. It's like this is just a reaction that you can take when a creature within 30 feet of you dies. And then you have this ability. And a friend of mine specifically played this class and utilized this ability. And it was crazy how effective it was in the game. Because it provides so much specific detail of like, yeah, you're not just pretending to be this person. You do effectively kind of become them. Admittedly, not to the fullest extent, where, again, you don't know like their deepest, darkest secrets. But the fact that you literally gain access to a lot of their surface memories and information about them, that just gives you so much more capacity to interact and to do certain things. Like you just have to find a relatively high up person in like, whatever fortress, castle, business, factory, or whatever that you're trying to infiltrate. Assassinate him, take him out, and literally you could take his place. It only lasts for an hour, of course, but still, that an hour is a pretty long time, most likely, for the thing that you need to get done. You know what I mean? And then even then, I would submit, you could then, if you had disguise self or even alter self, still take on the guise and form of this person and retain the information that you got from this magic in the first place to then still pass yourself off as that person, like even longer. So it's like even though the initial ability only lasts for an hour, there's no reason why you couldn't keep up the charade seemingly indefinitely, unless you
I mean,
encounter
you'd have
again.
to you'd have to use spells to change your appearance. But the reality is, if you're dealing with people who are not magically inclined, once you convince them you are that person originally, they are seldom going to question it after the fact. So if you have, skills with a disguise kit or some sort of magic, and they are not magically inclined, they have no way to say through that thing, or they don't know that you're magic yourself, that you might be able to get away with it. There are DMs who might fuck with it a little bit, but the reality is once you learn about this person, you know the information. It's not gone once they're dead, or once they're
It doesn't say anything about it being
no.
gone,
So
so
you could theoretically still use that information to attempt to pass yourself off. And the fact that there is no check for them to not believe you're that person in terms of the magic, it's just an innate thing that you do. I think that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and they have to deliberately like attempt an insight check to contest, your performance of this person. Like they have to first have some inclination that you're not who you say you are at all. And then they have to try to make a deliberate insight check against your active deception check, which at that point is going to be freaking bonkers out the wazoo. And again, I would even say like you could further like supplement this by like adding items that keep people from even magically being able to ascertain. Like get a necklace of non-detection, and then it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, or you could cast the spell non-detection on yourself, and they wouldn't be able to magically perceive who you are either. Like they would have to be able to see through your deception, which is highly unlikely at this point. Like, it's kind of crazy how this could work. If it would take, again, a little bit of setup, but with this kind of thing, I feel like this is also a great subclass for GMs in their games, right? Like, you already have certain creatures or monsters. Like, you pair this with like a changeling or a doppelganger, and like, oh my God, the literal psychological horror and warfare that could go on with this would be utterly crazy. Like, there would be almost no way to be able to tell if this person who wasn't who they say they were, right? I feel like this subclass, as a matter of fact, is almost slightly based off the doppelganger's abilities, because the doppelganger has a very similar ability like this, essentially, which is kind of their whole thing. But moving on, they have one last Capstone subclass ability at 14th level, and it is known as Shadow Lore. You gain the ability to weave dark magic into your words and tap into a creature's deepest fears. As an action, you magically whisper a phrase that only one creature of your choice within 30 feet of you can hear. The target must make a wisdom save against your spell save DC, and it automatically succeeds if it doesn't share a language with you or if it can't hear you. On a successful saving throw, your whisper sounds like unintelligible mumbling and has no effect. On a failed saving throw, the target is charmed by you for the next 8 hours, or until you or your allies attack it, damage it, or force it to make a saving throw. It interprets the whispers as a description of its most mortifying secret. You gain no knowledge of this secret, but the target is convinced that you know it. The charmed creature obeys your commands for fear that you will reveal its secret. It won't risk its life for you or fight for you unless it was already inclined to do so. It grants you favors and gifts it would offer to a close friend. And when the effect ends, the creature has no understanding of why it held you in such fear. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Once more, fantastic ability that is continuously building off of its predecessors in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
This kind of bringing together both your Words of Terror, Mantle of Whispers, and things into one thing to meld everything together. Like, remember we said before that your Mantle of Whispers doesn't allow you necessarily to know the deepest, darkest secrets of whoever it is that you transformed into, right? However, if you use Shadow Lore in conjunction with maybe like, you probably don't even need to use Mantle, or you probably don't even need to use Words of Terror, but if you use Shadow Lore, you could, in my opinion, reasonably enough, force the creature to basically confess a lot of its secrets
Yeah, I think
and
the
fears.
point of that ability is that you don't get to know the secret from the creature itself. But
At least not from the magic.
if you're a bastard like me, you have a friend or yourself take detect thoughts. And when you start talking to them, of course, the first thing a person's going to think about when they think you know the worst thing they've ever done
About them.
is the entirety of their brain is going to be thinking that one thing.
Yep.
Oh my God, I can't believe I did this.
Yep.
They know that I did this. And so whether it's a divination wizard you have as a buddy, or, even if someone just has an amulet of detect thoughts, there's nothing to say you couldn't immediately know what it is.
Yeah.
Even the forceful detect thoughts, where it's a saving throw, it's not technically an attack, so you wouldn't lose the charmed effect on the person, would you?
You would. It says if it's attack, you or your allies attack, damage it, or force it to make a saving throw.
Oh, okay.
So if you make them make
fine.
a save, you couldn't it wouldn't still be charmed by you in that way.
I would argue that the base
I would still argue
of detect
that,
thoughts would
yes,
still get you the information.
I agree. I would still argue that they would absolutely still be thinking, because again, the moment you walk into their field of vision or even address them directly after this effect has taken hold, they would absolutely be like overcome with their terror of you and be thinking, like Sam just said, and I gave an example.
They can't tell them I have to do something to keep them from telling them about this thing.
About what happened, about like, the GM could maybe make an argument. It's like, well, maybe they're not thinking it deliberately or specifically. But my point being, though, is if really you could force them to say it. They literally, literally, it says it. It obeys your commands for fear that you will reveal its secret. Any command that you give it at this point, they will obey. Even if you're just like, why don't you go ahead and tell this person here or whatever? Like,
so that's the thing. I think you can make an argument that it would not obey a command where you tell it to reveal its secret, at least to anyone else, because you know it, but no one else does. So maybe if you corner this person, if you take them into a room and you tell them,
reveal it to yourself,
yeah, but I don't think you could have them reveal it in public. And I think
not in public necessarily.
And a DM could even make an argument that they wouldn't reveal it to you or yourself because you already know. Why would they tell you? And so you have to get creative. I think there are a couple ways, like, I think you can make a case as a DM that maybe you don't know the entire secret off of a detect thoughts right away, but the longer you spend time with this person, the more nervous they're going to get. The way you act is going to make them afraid, and so it might reveal more information as time progresses.
I mean, that's fine. I feel like you could absolutely finagle like an answer out of them to even just be like
at least a couple clues.
Yeah, like at the very least, to gain a more deeper insight. And even then, you could still have them spill other secrets instead of the most horrifying one. You could literally have them be like, what is the password, or what are your evil machinations for this thing here, or whatever, like you could still have them tell you about other things that they might not actually be what they feel is the most mortifying thing that you know about them.
Yeah.
But that in essence, that is the College of Whispers Bards full portfolio right there for you guys. Like, again, as you can see, this particular like subclass, it's not like a super big powerhouse in terms of like damage or like skills or anything like that. But what it does have, and what it is like an absolute unit in, is its role play ability and potential. Like, and not even just that, but also in the very specific flavor that it presents, right?
Yeah.
There are so few other subclasses or even classes and spells even that allow you to do a lot of what this just inherently like gives you. And it gives you in a very specifically worded way, in a much more detailed way, where there's not a lot of room for interpretation here. That's one of the biggest maybe like misgivings about certain spells, such as like illusion spells or charm spells, enchantment or whatever, is that it's like there's a little bit of a lot of leeway to like, interpretation of how they could actually work and affect a creature, or there isn't, and it's very limited. Like they deliberately make it where it's like you cannot do all of this stuff or whatever with this creature. Whereas here it's like they're specific, but they're detailed and they give you a lot of room to work with this. Like the RP potential with these two abilities, Mantle of Whispers and Shadow Lore alone, is just astronomical. And the flavor of it is also just really cool in that regard. Like I feel like almost this particular subclass even works better as a GM's tool for an enemy bard to face against an enemy bard. I think it's still great for players to use it too. Like I have built a College of Whispers and I've played it and utilized its abilities, and it is really cool. It's awesome. But I definitely am like, I want to use this kind of against my players. Because again, imagine like, for instance, I don't know how exactly you might be able to pull it off. Well, it would probably be very similar to Critical Role and how Matt did it with like the Rakshasa, where it took the form of and spoilers for campaign 1 for anybody, but you know, you probably should already, it's been out for so long now. Where the Rakshasa took the form of Gilmore and ambushed Vax without his armor, without his weapons, and straight up took him out. He literally he ended Vax completely. Yeah. Like it wasn't even like, oh, Vax got away. Like no, Vax was done. They had to revive him because he took him out, assassinated him. And you could do the exact same thing with the College of Whispers bard. Like you would be able to masquerade as like a close personal confidant or friend of the party, and even potentially further back up your legitimacy by shadow loring another close personal friend of the party and get them to betray the party and put them into like an absolute death zone kill zone of an area and ambush them like that, because they would listen to you with shadow lore. Like you're not.
And I don't even think you don't even need to go full into this class to make it effective. I have a multi-class of this with Swashbuckler.
Yeah.
As to be like I catch you alone and no one ever sees you again.
Yeah.
And it's
except for that 1 hour where you come back and maybe are doing some weird stuff for a bit and then you're gone forever after that. Like it's a great, and it's also like Sam just said, it's a great pairing for multi-class if you want something again like a little bit more like, I think this and I feel like this and Psyknife Rogue would also be a super cool like multi-class combination.
The only reason I go with Swashbuckler is the charisma and the fact that it's the Rakish Authority, where if you attack someone and you're the only one within 5 feet of it,
you can deal sneak attack damage. Yeah.
So because
the Rakish Audacity,
yeah, and honestly, I think for a class like this, you need that bonus action. So doing aimed shot maybe isn't what you want to be doing all the time. But I think
a lot of it doesn't even require a bonus action. Like it's like, because again, even with like psychic blades, you just have to, when you hit a creature with an attack, it's like a smite. You just expend a use of your bardic inspiration for that extra, D6 of dice to that damage. And then even with like Words of Terror, you don't have to spend an action. It's you just speak to them alone for at least 1 minute. And then anytime past that 1 minute, you can just do this thing. It doesn't require an action. Neither does like Mantle of Whispers requires a reaction and then an action to utilize. But even that's just like, And then Shadow Lore is like, as an action, if they're within 30 feet of you, no one else can hear you do this. So it's still essentially like no one else even knows that you have done this. That's also the coolest part about Shadow Lore too, is you magically whisper a phrase that only one creature of your choice within 30 feet of you can hear. So you don't even have to see the creature. You just have to make sure they can hear you, and no one else hears you but that creature.
Yeah. And I think, the only thing I would, Psyknife does go off intelligence, unfortunately, which is the only
downside. Is the one downside. So I agree, probably Swashbuckler would be the best kind of combination, because it also would just be like, yeah, you get that extra sneak attack damage combined with your psychic blades damage, like,
and it makes someone that either
word.
has, because the only problem with Bard, if it's not a combat Bard like Swords or Valor, is that they only get one attack. So you
That
have
is
to
the
make
biggest
use.
issue.
You have to make use of your action, whether that's an attack or a spell. And most of the time, bards will use spells because it's more
They can
bang for your
do
buck.
much more
But
damage. Yeah.
when you have a Valor Bard or a Swords Bard, you get 2 attacks, so it makes more sense to maybe do attacks sometimes. With something like this, you're definitely only attacking when it's an opportune moment and not necessarily all the time. But if you combine that with like Rogue, you can get it gets a little kind of back and forth as to whether or not which one's more effective, and depending on how you play it and depending on how you strategize, you can still be quite dangerous. You're not going to be your main damage dealer, not by far, but you're going to be competent, and I think in certain situations probably better than most characters, just from the nature of how you attack people. And so I think that's the fun, the reason I like Bard so much. It's a midline. It's not a long range. It's not a close up. It's right in the middle where it goes back and forth.
Well,
between the
because again, it's obviously like, as we've always said, bards are, and rogues to a similar kind of thing, they are your skill monkey classes in 5th edition. You know, they are the only classes that are truly tailored towards skills, to having a focus on skills rather than, you know, magic, which could also be considered, you know, versatility, and then strictly more so to like combat, which obviously is more your martial classes such as fighter, barbarian, and the like, and also I guess paladin to the same kind of extent. Because obviously, you know, with wizards, clerics, druids, and all most other primary casters, they do have, again, I say versatility in terms of like they have a lot of choices in terms of just all the things they can do with magic, right? When you have magic, you can do so many different things, whether it be in combat, out of combat, and so they have that versatility and freedom. But they also, ironically, even with spells, a lot of spells that might have something to do with like skills are not really great spells to use or take to buff skills. It's just, they're just not really worth it. Whereas again, why I still feel like that aspect of both the rogue and the bard still shines through and is really great, because they are so very much like tailored to the skill aspect of the game and still give them supremacy in that field, even from like spellcasters who have such a wider range of versatility. And then with the College of Whispers, specifically the subclass, while again, compared to a lot of other subclasses of the bard, it's lacking in a lot of meat and a lot of weight to it. Like, again, you only get technically a total of 4 abilities for this subclass. And they're at pretty, like, after 6th level, you know, it's a pretty far away one to get Shadow Lore at 14th level. I personally feel like they should have given Shadow Lore like way lower. I don't think it should be a 14th level ability. I think maybe it should be more like a 10th level ability.
The issue is just that's the structure of the class.
Yeah,
it's that all of them get it at 14. So
that is the biggest issue, is that they didn't give a lot of meat to this subclass. But what they did do, and again, I guess to me it makes up for it a bit, is even from the lack of, let's say, you know, meat or weight of the subclass, they still filled up the abilities, like with what you do get, with, again, a lot of detail and the ability to apply it to a multitude of situations, right? You're still going to be able to utilize this frequently throughout your entire tenure with this subclass. And that is awesome, especially with it kind of is very indicative of your imagination, right? They didn't give you a lot of different specific abilities, but they gave you 4 pretty decent to really awesome ones that you can utilize and expand and apply in a multitude of situations based off of your imagination and guile.
Yeah.
Which it is kind of the whole point of being a College of Whispers bard in the first place. But yeah, that in essence, I think covers kind of the totality of the subclass for bard known as the College of Whispers. From here, why don't we go ahead and bounce right on into our next subclass that we'll be discussing. Samuel, what did you pick for your chosen fave subclass for today's discussion?
Well, I had a couple to pick from in Ranger, but I ended up, since we touched on a couple other ones before, I'm going to go with Horizon Walker.
Yeah, Horizon Walker.
Horizon Walkers guard the world against threats that originate from other planes or that seek to ravage the mortal realm with otherworldly magic. They seek out planar portals and keep watch over them, venturing to the inner planes and the outer planes as needed to pursue their foes. These rangers are also friends to any forces in the multiverse, especially benevolent dragons, fae, and elementals. They work to preserve life and the order of the planes. So they're kind of like multi-dimensional hunters. It's cool because it almost kind of exudes a order of sorts.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I've always thought of Horizon Walker as like you could almost, I don't know if there is a paladin that would work well with this, but it would be interesting to do a ranger paladin mix.
Horizon Walker, maybe like Oath of Ancients too, maybe
something like that. It's just the way that it's, to me, the way that it's set up, it's almost like there's an order of these hunters that just hang, like they just go between worlds and you barely see them because they're never going to be in public or in an urban environment.
I feel like these would be the type of people. I feel like these are the type of like ranger, and I think most in all ranger lore, rangers are usually types that are like they have that wanderlust. They're always nomadic. They're nomadic. They're always kind of moving and always on the move and walking around and traveling. But I especially feel like Horizon Walkers would be this way, like where they're literally traveling like between the planes at times too, to just be like, or at the very least, going to those far off or secluded areas where the wall between planes is thin and there are like portals and stuff all around that they're like checking to make sure that the balance of all the planes is remaining intact. And I love that aspect. Like I'm a huge fan of that particular dynamic of being like, yo, they are absolutely intrinsically tied with the balance of like the multiverse, which I'm super down for.
Yeah. And it to me, it's also fun because I think it gives this, you know about the planes. So it also creates just an interesting character knowledge base wise. But we'll go over kind of what they get. They get a couple of things at level 3. So we'll start with those. They get the Horizon Walker spells, which is, some of them are good, some of them are, I mean, they're all good except for one really, but even then it's fine. 3rd level ranger, they get protection from evil and good. 5th level ranger, they get Misty Step. 9th level ranger, they get haste. 13th level ranger, they get banishment. And 17th level, they get teleportation circle. So all good spells really.
All pretty great.
Even protection from evil and good.
Oh yeah,
if used correctly
at 3rd level,
is right.
Yeah, like it definitely is nothing to sneeze at.
At 3rd level, they also get detect portal. You gain the ability to magically sense the presence of a planar portal. As an action, you detect the distance and direction of the closest planar portal within 1 mile of you. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. It gives you the planar travel section. The Dungeon Master's Guide is an example of what those would be.
I will say, obviously, I
like this ability. I know it's not flashy, but I think it ties well to the point of like, you have a primeval sense as to where this shit is coming from.
Yeah.
So, you go into a city with your party, whatever, and some weird devils crawl out of the basement of a shop. You're like, well, they might not have come from here, but they might have come from in the sewer. And you use this ability and you can sense direction and the distance. It's what we wanted the primeval awareness in Ranger to be.
Way better.
But this is, I like this a lot.
No, I agree. I do feel like I love this ability as well. I do feel like it suffers from the sense that it is very situational. Of course,
yeah.
Like you would have to, like, that's the one thing about the wholeness of this class is while it's super amazing and awesome, it does suffer for a bit from having to kind of be a little bit more tailor-made to a very specific type of like campaign where your GM, like, to make a lot of what this has to be more relevant and applicable, it'd have to be like, yeah, we're playing more of a planar type campaign where you're gonna have, invasions, like Sam just said, for maybe like devils or demons, or you are traversing across the planes like elementals, things like that is the only caveat I would say, like, to that ability specifically. Because otherwise, yeah, it is super cool, and that's like, wow, you can literally track this stuff as you should, you know?
Yeah, and I like it because it ties in exactly what the class is supposed to be. You also get at third level Planar Warrior. You learn to draw on the energy of the multiverse to augment your attacks. As a bonus action,
This
choose
is
one
super
creature
cool.
you can see within 30 feet of you. The next time you hit that creature on this turn with a weapon attack, all damage dealt by the attack becomes force damage, and the creature takes an extra 1d8 force damage from the attack. When you reach 11th level in this class, the extra damage increases to 2d8. Now, if you're me, I'm running this as a ranged character, not necessarily a
Oh yeah,
duelist melee character. Gloomstalker and Monster Slayer I'd run as a duelist with the
yeah.
option of ranged. But this one is entirely ranged for the sole reason of I'm going to be using that bonus action.
Yep.
First turn is Hunter's Mark. Every turn after that is, hey, I want to do extra force damage for free.
Yeah.
And it's great because it can get around resistances. There are lots of enemies. There's not many enemies that are resistant to force damage. So it's always a good damage type. And it's just kind of cool to be like, yeah, I shoot an arrow and all of a sudden it glows with this weird etherealness, and then it hits you and you're like, oh, that was not normal. And
Yeah,
so it
right.
gives you this flavor of like, oh shit, okay, this is cool. You get at 7th level ethereal step. At 7th level, you learn to step through the ethereal plane. As a bonus action, you can cast etherealness spell without this feature, or with spell with this feature without expending a spell slot. But the spell ends at the end of the current turn. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. Now, to me, this is a oh fuck, get out of jail free card.
Oh yeah, this is a panic button for sure. Like
And it's
when you're
again,
in a
it's a bonus action. The normal spell is
and
an
it's the
action.
actual
So,
etherealness spell too. It's not even just like, like blink or something like that, or
nope.
like, it's literally a bonus action where you're just like zoop. And there are certain creatures where this might not always work against, but the vast majority it absolutely will.
Yeah.
And it also recharges on a short rest too, which isn't nothing. It's not just a long rest. That's actually pretty great.
And it's
Uh,
look, anything to get, you're in your last leg, something bad's happening. You're like,
yeah, for
well,
sure.
they ran up to me. I really don't have a choice. Like, I gotta get
I
out of
mean,
here.
you could also potentially use this as a means of traversal. Like you need to like phase through a wall, because there's nothing that says that like in the ethereal realm that there's a solid wall here in the material. You go into the ethereal plane, there might not be a wall there at all. You could just move to the other side, pop back out, and you're on the other side of that wall now. Like it's got a lot of versatility, despite the fact it's very quick and seemingly simple, and yet it's got a lot of different applications that you could apply it to, which is awesome, or situations that you could apply it to. Excuse me.
And to me, it's a very underused spell. I don't think I've ever had someone use this spell in a game.
Yeah,
So I
well,
like the fact that it encourages
I was
the
gonna
spell.
say, like, I think one of the biggest reasons for that is it is a 7th level spell normally.
Yeah.
So the fact that they can cast it at 7th level is crazy, even to the limited
Even if it is
extent.
one turn,
That's what I'm
it
saying.
doesn't.
Even to the limited extent, it's still crazy. And it's a range of it's a casting time of one action, and it's like you don't really have a lot of reasons to use etherealness in that way much, because you can't like just turn it on and off. Like it's
Yeah.
literally like you're there, and then you can get out of it, and that's it. Then it's gone, and you can't move more than like 60 feet away from where you initially went in anyway. And so it's like it's kind of just not great unless you're literally trying to fight something on the ethereal plane.
Yeah.
But
It
yeah,
keeps going with the weird kind of ethereal teleportiness stuff with Distant Strike. At 11th level, you gain the ability to pass between the planes in the blink of an eye. When you take the attack action, you can teleport up to 10 feet before each attack to an unoccupied space you can see. If you attack at least 2 different creatures with the action, you can make 1 additional attack against a third creature. It's not an extra action, it's just a bonus attack you get.
yeah,
Which I love. I love the ability, like spreading out attacks. While it might not necessarily be the most strategic thing, the fact that you can blink around and keep
Pretty
people from getting
cool
to
to
you is
me.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I personally love it. There is you technically also can use this to jump over short distances because all it requires is that you take the attack action, not that you attack someone.
Yeah.
So
No.
if you attack a target, you could technically blink 10 feet.
Yeah.
And so there's some interesting uses for this that aren't necessarily all combat or all in the
Exactly.
heat of battle.
That's why I
Obviously,
like it.
it's limited, but it's cool. And I think that's you already have extra damage. You already have your ranger spells. You're gonna get rangers are definitely a class that requires some magic items, but
They
I
are.
think I think if you augment this correctly, this is one of my favorite flavor abilities where it's like, oh look at this, like where am I gonna be? Like it's
I mean,
very
it's an amazing image in your mind where a person literally just like teleporting, blinking, like you're like Nightcrawler with a bow and arrow or swords, where you're just like waching, waching, like. And what's also cool is the fact that you can teleport this way, as Sam just said, potentially up to 3 times if there are 3 separate targets that you attack, and it doesn't take any of your actual movement to do so. So you could essentially move just a straight 30 feet and then move 30 feet with your actual movement after the fact if you wanted to, if you had the right situation involved.
yeah.
Like already that's, and like Sam said, you don't necessarily even have to attack a creature. Like I think specifically for the third teleport, you would have to attack a third creature because that's what it says. But for the initial like actual 2 attacks, there's no reason why you can't just fire 2 attacks and teleport twice to like, a tree or a squirrel or a rock or, a leaf, whatever, just anything around. And it's kind of crazy the versatility that you could have with this.
It's fun. I enjoyed a lot. And then kind of the last ability at 15th, they get Spectral Defense. Your ability to move between planes enables you to slip through the planar boundaries to lessen the harm done to you during battle. When you take damage from an attack, you can use a reaction to give yourself resistance to all of that attack's damage on this turn. That's kind of crazy. Because it means that no matter what flavor of damage
you just get
take
resistance.
Obviously, it is reliant on attacks specifically.
It is.
I believe rangers don't get evasion, but the reality is that
they don't, which is dumb. But this is essentially another version of the rogue's uncanny dodge.
I think it's a great
thing.
ability. It's a great thing to kind of even out what you're doing now with another application to maybe keep yourself alive a little bit longer. And I like that. I think it's a great tie-in to what they already do. I like the flavor. Again, this class isn't necessarily, this isn't the most damage dealing class. It's not the craziest class you're going to play, but I think it's fairly consistent damage.
It's very reliable, highly
reliable. And I think that's what rangers are kind of there for, is reliable DPS. And I like, I think there are some ranger spells that could work really well with this class and you'd have a lot of fun. I like the addition of like teleportation circle and banishment with this class because I think it ties in a lot to what their purpose is.
I mean, haste, great addition
haste
for
fantastic.
them. Like the fact
that
if you're me,
you just you do it on yourself and then you teleport every turn.
I mean, that's what my that's what Alistair loves to do. Like he casts haste on himself, cast a spell next turn, and then attacks with his sword. Like, and has just ungodly AC with it.
It's a fun one. But I think that's all I got for Horizon Walker. If we want to move on to our less than stellar classes,
they are pretty great. Horizon Walker, indeed. But let's go ahead. We're gonna go into. We will specifically keep it for just the one sorry unfortunate class that we have to kind of get into and talk about, since we might have the tendency to kind of roast it twice as long as we love talking about the classes that we do love. You want to go ahead and tell the people what are the subclass we're going to talk about today, Sammy, that might need a little bit of extra loving to really get it going?
Well, we have 2 of them. Which one did you want to start?
Hit it with the champion.
Yeah, we're gonna start with champion today. Champion fighter. Now, I don't think we've touched upon this one before. This is the fighter's fighter. If you do not know how to play D&D, is essentially what this.
I think we slightly have before.
I mean, if you want to start, this was your unfortunate pick, as far as I know. Which I know how you feel about this class.
Yeah.
I know how you feel about this class, which is
I mean, it's
because there was a
it's just
time
like,
where I liked Champion when I first started playing D&D, and
yeah,
I
I
told you
mean, again, don't get me wrong, it's definitely interesting. It definitely has the it's got the flavor of being like, hey, where this is the fightiest fighter to have ever fighted fights. You know what I mean? Like it literally is just like the most basic, like simplistic, just kind of dry bread class you can get, for good and for bad. It's like, hey, you know exactly what you're gonna get. There's not a lot you gotta recall or remember really about the class, and that's about it. Let's talk a little bit about it. So you see, for champion, the literal archetypal champion focuses on the development of raw physical power honed to deadly perfection. Those who model themselves on this archetype combine rigorous training with physical excellence to deal devastating blows. And that's it for their flavor text right there. That kind of sums it up kind of in that way. At third level, you get only one additional boon, and that specifically is going to be your improved critical. Mm-hmm. And basically what that is your weapon attacks now score a critical hit on a 19 or a 20. That's it.
So good. It's so good.
It depends.
Now technically, over the course of an entire campaign, it means that you have instead of having a 20% chance to, no, what is it?
Well,
10%?
Yeah, it's like
it's like 5% chance to crit normally.
It's like a 5% chance to crit normally, I believe. It's a 1 in 20.
Now it's a 20. Now it's 10% chance.
Yeah, now it would be a 10% chance to crit.
Sounds not good, but if you're like me and you understand that technically D&D is a numbers game, which is why, you take a great sword instead of a great axe.
Yep.
Or a maul instead of, But the reality is that over the course of an entire campaign, it might make a difference. You might have some times where this ability actually does come into play. There's a reason that what's it called? Hexblade Warlock basically has this with its mark.
Yeah,
it's considered good in that case, and it's bad in this one. So
yeah,
because it doesn't give you anything else.
Yeah, the Hexblades, yeah, Curse of the Hexblade or whatever. And it's because also another thing too. Well, there's also the Hex spell, I guess, which isn't quite the same, but it's like
Hexblade's Curse gives you you crit on a 19 or 20.
Yeah, that is true, and it allows you also when you defeat them. You heal, I think, from it too when you take them out, which is helpful. But you again, in essence, what I'm saying is right in terms of like you do just get a higher chance to potentially crit. Now, obviously the issue with that is for a fighter, as well as if you're just an infamously bad or shit roller like I am, for instance, this ability is almost kind of non-existent even then. Like you run the risk of, one, if you're just bad roller or you're having a bad night, it doesn't even matter. It's not going to be applicable at all. And this is your first subclass ability that you get, and you're not going to get another one until 7th level.
Now let's before you dig it too hard, remember, for everyone at home, fighters,
they get a lot.
They get a lot in terms of raw ability scores.
Yeah, so, ability score improvements, feats as well is another big part of it.
If you just want this is the when you're playing a game and your little brother wants to play, so you give him the shitty controller that doesn't work. That's what this fighter is. This is the person that doesn't know how to play D&D or doesn't care about anything except hitting things, and you just give him this. And you know what? It'll work.
I mean, it will. It's not like,
yeah.
It's not like objectively the worst of all. It's not good
comparatively. I think you could do so much more.
Not good because you just again, all it is just the straight. It is, ironically, even more than a barbarian, just the straightest unga boonga build and class that you could possibly get. Because again,
stick together.
Like you again, like the problem being is even if you get a critical hit at this point, you're still not necessarily liable to do a lot of damage automatically unless you have a very specific rule, like unless you like do the rule of like heroic crits or you have again a really badass weapon. And at level 3, you're probably not really gonna have a badass weapon.
Well, you just take a greatsword.
Well, but then you're missing out on you're missing out on your AC bonus you can get from holding a shield then too. Like I would say you might want to just do like because it's not worth it because you might not even get this crit anyway, Sam. You should at least have the survivability at least at lower levels, increase your AC with a shield, have a long sword with the ability to go versatile with it.
No.
Like, yeah. At least
no, you take heavy armor and a great weapon fighting, and you just run at people until you die.
But you're not a barbarian. Fighters rely more on their AC than just their hit points too. It's a combination of the two of them. Since freaking barbarians can just have most damage, it's like they can just do that, but you want to usually have a shield with your fighter to maximize your survivability as the tank, and then hopefully damage healer. But moving on, after 3rd level, you get your next ability, your second one in the subclass at 7th level, and it is known as Remarkable Athlete. You can add half your proficiency bonus, rounded up, to any strength, dex, or con check you make that doesn't already use your proficiency bonus.
Now, wait just a minute here, because I believe fighters get... Well, no, that's a saving throw. Yeah. Either way, they don't get a lot of skills baseline. Fighters don't get a lot of skills baseline. So unless you're doing custom backgrounds with a bunch of added skills, this might actually the dex skills mostly you won't have.
I mean,
things like stealth and acrobatics and
sleight of hand.
Sleight of hand. That's it. But still, like at least you'll be able to stealth maybe.
It's a weird one. But if you do what you do and take heavy armor, you have disadvantage anyway.
Well, so look, I'm trying to play devil's advocate. I'm
aware. It's not where I'm just saying. Like
it's bad.
Look. This is not awesome. Okay, we're not done. Hang on. It has a second part of this ability. In addition, when you make a running long jump, the distance you can cover increases by a number of feet equal to your strength modifier.
That's all. See, there you go.
Hey, you can jump.
That totally
kind of like the Hulk, maybe if you get your strength up really high.
Not really.
Not really,
it's
but
extra like 5 feet.
Yeah, but I mean, because it's your strength modifier. But like, hey, that's still decent because it's like your strength. A long jump is calculated by what? It's like 3 plus your strength score.
So you could get up to
get an extra 20. So if you get up to 20. You could 3 plus 20, 23, and then plus 5, 28. So you could, if your strength is a total
30
20,
feet, basically.
You could jump essentially 30 feet if you really want. If you want to do that, maybe if you do like a flip, you could technically say like, well, I reach my legs out to then get the extra 2 feet or even longer. Maybe who knows? I mean, either way,
the reality is you could jump at somebody, and that would be.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that's kind of like like a Hulk jump. You just jump. Well, no, I take that back because you would have to run 10 feet first to do that first, actually. So you would actually only technically be able to jump a maximum of 30 or 20 feet because you still have to use your movement for when you jump. And
I don't know. That's not necessarily true. You can jump longer than your movement is.
Technically,
as long as you use your movement to start the jump distance has nothing to do with your movement speed.
I'm pretty sure it's a literal rule that you can only still jump as far as your remaining movement allows you to.
Well, I'm gonna look at it because I don't know about that.
Like that's the one caveat where I'm like, this could be kind of cool, but like because of that kind of restriction, you don't have a lot of like good. Let's see. Jump, difficult terrain, climbing, jumping. Your strength determines how far you can jump. Long jump. When you make a long jump, you cover a number of feet equal up to your strength score if you move at least 10 feet on foot immediately before the jump. When you make a standing long jump, whatever. This rule assumes that the height of your jump doesn't matter, such as You got athletics check, When you land,
doesn't say anything.
Exchange your arms. Okay, so then maybe that's the case. Then maybe you can still jump longer.
Yeah, you can jump longer than your movement. As long as you have 10 feet left, you can jump. You can do a long jump. People don't use this enough.
Yeah. Either way. No, it does. Each foot you clear on the jump costs a foot of movement.
Oh, but that doesn't mean you can't. Okay, let me rephrase. You can still go above your movement speed.
Yeah,
you just can't move anything after that.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so it's like, well, it costs. So either way, each foot you clear on the jump costs a foot of movement. So
you could still jump the full 30. You just wouldn't have any movement left.
I personally would rule it that way too. Like,
they don't say otherwise.
Because
they would say if there was a limit.
You can't stop in midair when you're jumping. No. Like, you're gonna jump that because you can jump that distance. So it's like you go that distance, you can't stop. But you can't move after that. So we'll say that then specifically that you cannot.
But you can jump into people. That'd be cool.
Because like,
it doesn't make sense if they want you to stop.
Either way, each foot you clear on the jump costs a foot of movement. So yeah, you can't move after you jump, but you can move. You can jump beyond your movement speed.
Still cool though.
That's decent. Like, you get a little bit extra bang for your buck. You could jump, like another 30 feet. So you could move potentially 40 feet. If you only had 30 feet of movement normally, you could, with this, if you with a strength of 20, you could jump a total of basically 30 feet, 28, but technically you just make it 30. You could jump basically 30 feet. So you could move potentially 40 feet. Admittedly, you could only do it in the one direction because you'd have to move 10 feet first in that one direction, then jump just straight. But that's still that's like a Hulk jump. It's like, hey.
But technically you can go diagonal. You can go. I mean,
no, I'm just saying it would have to just be a straight thing though. Like, even if you're going diagonal, you couldn't. It had to be on a line. You can't like turn or maneuver. So it would have to be just straight forward wherever you're going. But you could do that. But
it's not great
for the others. It's like there are no con checks. Except for fucking and even a concentration check is a constitution save. So there are no constitution checks. So that doesn't make sense to me.
There technically are for certain travel and other things that we don't really use very often.
But you still use save though a lot of the time for that.
No, there's con checks for like travel and things.
Is there?
Technically, yes. Okay. Technically,
I still feel like most of
the time contracts for traveling in the winter. There's contracts for.
I still say that most. I'm sure they do. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying again, most people are just like because again, most con checks you still use the Constitution save to calculate. Barely anybody is like, hey, dude, just roll straight con. That almost. There's no real situation where that ever happens, ever.
I understand. Remember when we talked about this for like 5 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's just, and so, Okay.
No, but remember, it's to hold your breath, march or labor for hours, go without sleep, survive without food or water, or drink an entire beer in one go. Those are all checks. Those are all Constitution checks.
Okay, what does it say to use? Like, it just says just roll con?
This is under the Constitution. When you click on Constitution on a character sheet, those are examples of a Constitution check.
Okay.
Yeah, look at that. Look at all those cool things.
Yeah, that no one ever does because it's also like you're holding your breath anyway.
But now a Constitution save is attempt to resist a spell, trap, poison, disease, or similar threat. So checks are for things that aren't necessarily an outward threat right away.
Well,
so holding your breath,
like concentration too, though. Like concentration check
is
a Constitution saving throw. So it's like
specifically.
I mean, I'd be because even like holding your breath though is like you can hold your breath for a number of rounds equal to your Constitution modifier, and then after that you run out. But
I know, but Constitution checks exist, is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, no, obviously they exist because you can just basically make a check for anything. You can just say roll this thing. But my point being is like even in the official thing,
it even says they're uncommon.
Yeah, like it's really just like it literally just like even in the official rules, they're like, hey, even so for concentration checks, like, oh no, you roll a saving throw. It's like,
yeah, that's not a contract.
Why call it a check then? Why call it a check?
Because Adam, they have to be difficult. Either way. It's not an ability you're going to lose very often.
It's unfortunate. I mean, remarkable athlete. Like, hang on. Let's even just see real quick. What are their actual just baseline skills that they get? So they do have a lot of skills. You can choose acrobatics, animal handling, athletics, history, insight, intimidation, perception, and survival. You can choose 2 from all of those.
Well,
So
what I'm saying is 2 is less
yeah,
than
no. They
other
don't get
classes.
access to a ton of them, but obviously they also, with your background though, you'll at least get probably 4 skills that you'll be proficient with at the very least. And so obviously, yeah, having this one here, the remarkable athlete, it's like, oh, so you could still, if you don't choose acrobatics or athletics, you can still apply half your proficiency bonus to those 2. And that's it. None of the rest of them are physical in any way, shape, or form. So you could apply it to stealth or sleight of hand, which is helpful. You know, you wouldn't have those. So you automatically just get half your proficiency bonus for stealth and sleight of hand because you wouldn't have been able to get them any other way except for your background. So
let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah. We're trying to make it work, okay? We're trying to make this appealing, all right? A little bit, because even though it's bad. So we go. The next one you get is at 10th level, so not too far away. Called additional fighting. You basically just get a second option from the fighting class feature that you get earlier on.
And this is actually a decent ability.
Yeah, it's helpful. It's good. You know, you get access to, you can get archery, a +2 bonus to attack rolls you make with ranged weapons. You get defense. While you wear armor, you get a +1 bonus to AC. You know, you get dueling, great weapon fighting, protection, 2 weapon fighting. It's decent. Honestly, the first 2 are probably the best overall, or maybe
great weapon fighting is good.
Great weapon fighting is all right.
It's, what do you mean? It literally turns great weapons into, instead of dealing 2 damage or 4 damage, you deal like 10 damage.
Well, no, maybe, but no. It's specifically when you roll an attack, you make a melee weapon, you're wielding with 2 hands, you can reroll the die, and you must use the new roll, even if the roll is the one.
I know that.
So you have the potential to just do the same exact thing.
All right, Adam.
Okay.
Statistically speaking, the more dice you roll, the better chance you have at rolling a higher number.
Yeah, I'm aware of the statistics, Sam, but the reality, from my experience, and I've seen other people too, believe me, this ability, so unfortunately, has the potential to do nothing.
All you have to do is take defense and great weapon fighting, and then you kill everything. And then
just do archery, because then at least you also have a higher range.
Look, Adam, if I'm gonna play an archer, I'm not playing a champion.
I'm not saying again. I'm saying like again. I mean, look, take defense. You can take either dueling or great weapon fighting, which I guess is fine. You have a little bit extra, but even with archery, it's like, because you, as a fighter, you should still have some ranged options, especially if you're a champion fighter.
No ranged.
You would just choose to be useless against like a spellcaster or a dragon that's flying.
No, give me boots. Give me a boots or cast fly on me, and I'll take Mage Slayer.
No.
Yeah.
You can't rely on your party to have to constantly bolster you to make you effective at all.
Yeah.
No. Always
every barbarian and fighter benefits from having a magic caster in their party.
Yes, they benefit, but you shouldn't build your character with the explicit necessity of your party having to bolster you with
no, do that 100%.
Take archery and get like freaking get javelins, get spears, because then you can still use your
play a feral tiefling with wings or an Aarakocra and fly, and then you don't have to rely on anyone, and you never do anything. You take mobile, and you take great weapon fighting, and you take great weapon master, and you wear heavy armor, and you fly at people and kill them.
No, goodness.
And you get a flame tongue, and
these are all, you are relying so heavily on items right now that your GM
I only relied on one item, and playing a feral tiefling.
Yeah, you said playing a feral tiefling or Aarakocra. You said boots of flying potentially.
Well, no, don't take those if you're gonna play
heavy armor.
Heavy armor you get as the start of the class. You can take heavy armor.
Well, yeah, but that heavy armor is necessarily gonna be great at the start. I think what is the heavy armor you get? Right.
16.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
It's really good. So
screw that. No.
Look, I think we can all agree that I'm saying the right thing, and Adam is trying to gaslight me.
No. Chainmail is the highest heavy armor you get at the start. You're not gonna survive long, but just chainmail, Sam.
Yeah, it's good.
You know?
It's all good. I don't see a problem with this at all.
No,
right,
you're
Adam,
not a barbarian.
Adam, when you run a game for me, I'm playing a feral tiefling champion fighter.
No,
with all of these things, and you have to let
I
me.
will kill you, Sam. I will
That's
kill
fine.
you. And then
If
you're
you
gonna bring
kill
out
me-
your sorcerer, and I'll kill the sorcerer too.
Okay, fine. I'll play it in that order. I'll play champion fighter, and then I'll play melee dwarf sorcerer. And you can't kill either of my characters. I won't even play to the. I won't even play to be effective. I'll play to just survive. Speaking of survival,
God.
do you want to talk about what you get at level 15?
Yeah.
Because this is anti other people surviving. It is the best ability that they get, and it's superior
critical. At 15th level, your weapon attack score a critical hit on a roll of not just a 19, not just a 20. Oh no, my friends. It is an 18, 19, or 20.
Now, if you're me and you roll a lot of 18s and
Hallelujah.
19s, this is the best ability.
And if you're me, who you can barely roll above a 10, this, again, does absolutely nothing. It's completely garbage. It's non-existent. Has no effect on the game whatsoever. At all. At
so
all. Oh, God. This is the 15th level ability. 15th, okay? You're hardly ever even going to get to this place in most instances unless you start there. Like this. Oh, man. Again, it's simple, right? It's simple. It's just like, hey, you get maybe slightly better. So instead of a 10% chance, you have another 15. You have a 15% chance now of rolling a crit, you know? Hallelujah. And, well, here's the thing, though. I will say, at least at this point, if you do roll a crit, you've most likely got a pretty badass weapon now to help actually make that worth, you know, critting. You know what I mean? You got, like Sam said, you got that flame tongue sword, hopefully. You got that, you know, a dragon's wrath weapon, you know, legendary.
How many attacks do you have at this point?
You have 3. You have 3 attacks at this point.
Let's
15. So you'll say 15, 30. You have a 45. We'll even say 45% chance to crit. And that's not even including if you have advantage either. If you have advantage,
if you're
it
flanking,
would be even more. At advantage, you'd probably have what? 90. You have a 90% chance to crit. Maybe with technically speaking, with advantage. Yeah. At least if I'm fucking doing that math correctly. You could essentially just add on an extra amount, right? Because you have a baseline 15% chance. You attack 3 times. That gives you a 45% chance to potentially crit. If you double that, even more so, basically that means that you have, like a 90% chance, theoretically, to crit at least once. At least once. And yet, somehow, the odds are always ever seem to be out of my favor.
I don't see any problem with this.
Regardless, they got one more. We got one more to go, all right? And this is their Capstone subclass ability at 18th level. And it's called Survivor. At 18th level, you attain the pinnacle of resilience in combat. Spoiler alert, no, you don't. At the start of each of your turns, you regain hit points equal to 5 plus your Constitution modifier. If you have no more than half of your hit points left, you don't gain this benefit if you have 0 hit points. So essentially, at 18th level, you gain a passive healing ability if you have half your hit points or fewer. Which, you know, at this level, you're at 18th level, you know, and it's 5 plus your con modifier, so you could have potential
10 HP. It's 10 HP around. What do you mean? That's crazy. That's like a cure wounds every turn.
Oh my God.
It's so good. I don't know why you're shitting on this so hard. Like, I mean, I meant like, dude, in 10 rounds, it's 100 HP. That's like. You get good armor and they might not hit you every time.
Oh, yeah. No, you should absolutely have better armor by this point. Probably out of the max, but at least with your build, probably at a max of what, 20? You have a 20 AC at 18th level and you're fighting creatures that have like a plus 12 to their attacks. Yeah, that's viable, Sam. That's real viable.
I've never played a character with more than 22 AC.
I mean, that's fine. 22 is good. 22 is fair. I mean, even 20 is reasonable. But again, at this level, at 18th level, these things are hitting like freaking trucks, like freight trains. Like it's not impossible. 20 is still decent, but good lord, like this
So good, dude. I'm
at
like, I don't know
18th level, they're hitting you with like tens of damage at the very least, if not more. Like, and that's only if you again took the time to increase your con to a 20 of all things. That's, and then if you're lucky, you get like an ability or you find an item that increases your con to 22, and then it would be 11 points. You'd heal 11 points at the start of each of your turn when your health is half down. And then the moment your health isn't halfway, you don't heal anymore from it. Like, it's not the worst ability ever, but goddamn, is it almost kind of non-existent. It almost is unapplicable. Like, it just
like it's all of the Capstone fighter abilities are trash.
Not all of them.
Most of them are.
I mean, they're not all terrible. Like the Rune Knight is pretty cool.
Okay,
like
that's okay. Fine, I'll give you the newer ones, but like all of the old ones.
Hang on. We'll even go with even the Eldritch Warrior isn't terrible. Like, you can make one weapon attack as a bonus action after you cast a spell. Like, almost no other class can do that. No other class can cast a spell and then attack right after, like a leveled spell, not just a cantrip, but a leveled spell. Because they get the other war magic at 7th level. So it's like, unless you have haste.
I thought we've talked about this. I thought we talked about how the wizard class that I hate the most is way better than Eldritch Knight, and they have the exact same role in combat.
I mean, why do you hate it the most? I don't know why you hate it the most.
I don't like it.
Why? Why don't you like it?
Because I like my spell swords to start as a sword, not as a spell.
Why are you are just so sick? You are so single-minded for no reason. You're just stubborn because you're just being a jerk. You're just being a troll about it.
I know what you're talking about.
Sure. Either way, the Eldritch Knight isn't bad, okay? The Psy Warrior isn't bad.
All right, fine, whatever.
This is just not great, all right?
No,
like,
it's not good.
This is not, it's not the worst, but it's not great. And that in essence, you guys.
It's not the worst fighter.
It's the totality of the champion, okay? It's just, it is the epitome. It is the absolute pinnacle representation of a stale bagel, okay? You got a stale bagel subclass here. All right, that's what the champion is. It's Adam, it's a stale bagel subclass. All right.
If you take bread and you get a little bit moist and you wrap it in tinfoil and throw it in the oven for 10 minutes, it's like new again for like half an hour.
Maybe. So, you got to get some really really finely tuned measurements to make sure that you don't over moisten it to the point where it's becoming all like too soft. And
you can soak the shit out of it. I've done it before with a baguette. I was like, this can't be real, and then I did it, and I was like, oh my god, it worked. You still gotta have those resources on hand to make it viable. Like I said, it's not the worst. It's not the worst. Yeah, but you do need a lot.
It's stale bread subclass.
Yeah,
it's a piece of stale bread subclass.
Hey, stale bread makes the best bread pudding, Adam. So you just need someone who's willing to get the ingredients with you.
Yeah, and take hours and hours to make that shit.
It's not hours. It's like an hour. Come on.
I've heard other what's the word I'm looking for? Recipes that to make it good. We're talking about good, Sam.
All right.
Okay. Good.
Let's move
Stale
on
bread is okay. Not even.
You ever have one of those nights where you're hungry and there's nothing to eat? So you
eat
stale bread.
Absolutely. Yes, I have been there, and it sucks. I'm not a fan.
You have to put like mayo or something on it to make it.
You use like
to soften it enough.
Like honey or like maple syrup, and you're just like, well,
something to make this palatable,
something.
please.
You don't even have.
So in this case,
you don't even have a toaster. You have to use the oven to maybe like.
Oh yes,
slightly.
You put it in a pan.
Yeah, you don't even have a toaster. You're just like, all right, well, just makes
Dude,
it
so
slightly.
his fighters are like, so a flame tongue is just the maple syrup to my stale bread.
Yes, it's the honey. It's the honey to the champion. All right,
Yeah, that's
the
great.
Champion's honey. It's
so
reliable. It's so heavily reliant upon items.
So I think we've actually gotten a little bit of a theme here with our next bad class, because this class is certainly viable.
All right, screw yeah. Let's do another one. Fuck it. Let's do it.
Well, I'll get through it. It just leaves a lot to be desired, and that is the edgiest cleric around, the Death Domain Cleric.
The Death Domain.
Well, technically now it's the Sanguine Cleric, whatever the hell that Matt Mercer came up with, that I haven't looked at yet because I don't have the book.
I haven't. I haven't even heard about that one.
Oh, dude, yeah. Either way. This is the Death Domain Cleric, similar to the Oathbreaker Paladin. It is the evil cleric.
Obviously, kind of. It doesn't have to be,
but it is.
It's death. So obviously, a lot of people are like, no.
Even just you look at the deities that these clerics would hang out with and talk to, and it's all bad.
I mean, not all. No, Anubis is good, or at least neutral. Ball is obviously bad. Yeah.
Give me one other than, because all of these
who was that one god?
Also, no one uses Egyptian gods in D&D.
No, they don't. But there's also the he's the neutral god of death. Is Kelemvor, I believe.
Yeah, you do that with like a grave cleric.
Yeah, but he's the god of death and the dead. So that would technically work. He is the god of the underworld, like that. He would technically apply, and he's neutral good. So,
all right, fine. Like, anyway, most of your options are not going to be great. You're going to be evil to the point of whatever. But let's go over their
he's
domains.
Lawful neutral. Either way, he's lawful neutral. Either way, his domains are death and great. So
let's look at their domain spells just for the sake. They start with at level 1, false life. Great. Ray of sickness. Yeah. Then at third level they get blindness and deafness. And ray of enfeeblement. If you're fighting like one guy, at 5th level you get animate dead. That's great because I like animate dead. And then vampiric touch, which is
it's okay. It works. It's a little bit of a self heal. The only issue is its concentration.
7th level you get blight.
That's great. Blight's great. Death Ward's phenomenal.
Death Ward's also good.
Death Ward is phenomenal.
At 9th level cleric you get anti-life shell.
Not bad. That's not bad.
It's fine. And cloud kill.
Cloud kill's pretty powerful.
Also not bad either.
Yeah.
So really we got mostly spells, but still spells. At your when the cleric higher level, we get a bonus proficiency at level 1. You get proficiency with martial weapons.
Okay, yeah.
We like that.
We take those. We take those.
And then
absolutely we take those.
Also at first level you get Reaper, which is the cleric learns 1 necromancy cantrip of his or her choice from any spell list. When the cleric casts a necromancy cantrip that normally targets only 1 creature, the spell can instead target 2 creatures within range and within 5 feet of each other. So if you're me, you just take chill touch. But
yeah,
look, we can talk about this.
Or Toll the Dead. That's another one.
Yeah, Toll the Dead's fine too. Now, look, we're gonna talk about this more than once, but the whole how often are 2 creatures within 5 feet of each other? It's not as often as you think, but also surprisingly more than you think. Especially if you have a DM who's never played a game like Warhammer or Risk or any kind of RTS strategy game, or just anything with a modicum of strategy thinking, whether it's a 4X game like Civilization or a RTS like Warhammer, or Total War. You'd be surprised how many enemies end up standing next to each other at an inopportune moment, whether that's because they're surrounding someone or they're fighting like one person. There's multiple of them.
What I was gonna say is like it really is dependent. Like it's like for me in my experience, it's like because I like to use the spell like Green Flame Blade, right? And it's the exact same kind of thing where it's like they have to be within 5 feet of each other, and more often than not, enemies aren't necessarily like right within 5 feet of each other, but they usually move to like flank you or be like 10 feet away is usually the more optimal distance that I've seen overall. Is that they're not usually like
I would argue a lot of people who play this game are not here for the stratagem. Where I don't like that, but I think it's true.
Yeah, probably. I would agree.
There are a lot of times that I've played, me personally, I can't speak to what you've encountered. A lot of times where DMs leave two monsters next to each other. Now, it's a cantrip, so at high level this doesn't really do anything, but at low level that can make a huge difference in a
high level. It does even more. You're kidding? Cantrips
I guess
super effective at high
level. Yeah,
level.
That's true. That's fine.
They're pretty busted at high level, actually.
But still, I think this is fine as a first level ability. It's a first level ability. I think that's okay. You get a free cantrip that, I mean, that's cool. And you can possibly do double damage.
Or you can hit multiple targets.
Yeah, so that's great.
It's a little bit extra versatility.
That's fine.
A little more options.
And then we get to Channel Divinity. Channel Divinity, Touch of Death. Starting at second level, the cleric can use Channel Divinity to destroy another creature's life force by touch. When the cleric hits a creature with a melee attack, the cleric can use Channel Divinity to deal extra necrotic damage to the target. The damage equals 5 plus twice the cleric level of the caster. Now, again,
that's not bad.
You don't get a lot of Channel Divinity uses, but if you're a Death Cleric and you're playing an evil campaign, you're not really going to be using Turn Undead very often.
I mean, even if you're a normal cleric, your GM might not even be throwing undead at you, so you still might not even use Turn Undead. So
yeah. So really this is just free damage. So this is okay. And it only gets better as you get higher level.
It's not a small amount.
I mean, at a 15th level cleric, that's 30 extra damage. That's guaranteed damage. You don't roll for it.
Even at the second level, that's at least 9 damage. You just is 9 extra damage right there. That's essentially the amount. That's essentially the amount of a Great Weapon Master. That's the Great Weapon Master feat right there.
So, I mean, I take it. At level 6, you get Inescapable Destruction. Starting at 6th level, the cleric's ability to channel negative energy becomes more potent. Necrotic damage dealt by the character's cleric spells and Channel Divinity options ignores resistance to necrotic damage.
That's pretty great.
That's pretty good.
There's plenty of things that have resistance to necrotic. That's pretty awesome, actually. At 6th level, no less. Like that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And then also at 8th level, you get Divine Strike, which a lot of clerics get. This version, of course, is necrotic themed. So once on each of the cleric's turn, when he or she hits with a creature with a weapon attack, the cleric can cause the attack to deal an extra 1d8 necrotic damage to the target. When the cleric reaches 14th level, the extra damage increases to 2d8. Look, I don't like Divine Strike. I think it's a garbage ability. The fact that most clerics have no business swinging a weapon at any point in the campaign. I'm sorry. I hate to say it, but your skills should be in this order: wisdom, charisma, and then anything else.
I mean, well, they don't necessarily need charisma.
Or not charisma, constitution. Sorry.
Constitution. I was going to say,
the other C1. My bad.
Constitution.
Wisdom, con.
Okay.
And then maybe your primary attack stat. But like the reality is, I don't want to be up close to anyone. And this class is trying to incite you to get up close and hit somebody, but I don't believe you do not have heavy armor proficiency as a Death Cleric. I don't believe.
Oh,
because it would tell you.
It doesn't offer you any,
you do not get a bonus proficiency of heavy armor. So you're using medium armor as a cleric, which medium armor is the worst armor in the game.
Yeah, it's horrendous.
It sucks, but it's just true. So you have medium armor, which is worse than heavy armor, and they want you to go attack somebody. It doesn't add up to me in terms of being a viable choice in an actual combat. Now, I understand the concept of wanting them to hit with necrotic energy and, oh, look at that, that's cool. And for your spells, that's great. I like it for the spells, but the whole fact that half of these abilities are about getting up in someone's face as a cleric.
Okay. Here, I will say this though. I'll there is one very specific caveat to that with the argument you're making. I usually wholly agree with you, but I will say there's one thing that makes this particular cleric even probably just kind of uber busted in certain situations, and that's with one spell known as Inflict Wounds.
That's true. I'll give you Inflict Wounds. Inflict Wounds is busted, but
Inflict Wounds is busted by itself. But with this bonus and stuff here, with the touch of death, technically it just says it has to be with a melee attack. It doesn't specify it has to be a weapon attack. So if you cast Inflict Wounds, you can add the touch of death along with the inescapable destruction, because it's also a spell. So you blow through any resistance with that.
That's true. I will give you that. Like, I guess if you just want to do Inflict Wounds, that's your whole character is Inflict Wounds.
Just Inflict Wounds.
You take mobile. You take. You just go fast. You
just
Inflict
keep
Wounds.
casting Inflict Wounds.
So I guess we figured out something today, that if you just want to be annoying to your DM, just take Inflict Wounds.
You want to be like a palm. You want to be like a super bulky, just like monk, like a death monk palm, like, or no, sumo. You'd be a sumo wrestler. You'd basically be like a devout sumo wrestler, just like tapping people.
It's stupid, and I love it. And then last one, this is cool too.
Next character.
When the cleric casts a necromancy spell of 1st through 5th level that targets only one creature, the spell can instead target 2 creatures within range and within 5 feet of each other. If the spell consumes its material components, the cleric must provide them for each target. Does that work with Inflict Wounds? I'm assuming no.
No, it would.
No, because you're not casting. Oh, now we have to look this up.
No, because you are it targets.
Did we just find the dumbest thing?
Yes, I'm telling you. You can dual cast Inflict Wounds.
Shit.
You can do a double palm strike of Inflict Wounds.
Let me see. No. Oh.
The only issue would
my God.
Yes,
you can.
I'm telling you. The only issue would be that they would have to both be directly like next to each other rather than next to you. It makes more sense to me if it would be like, you could like, if they're all both on one side of you, you could just like double clap, but like,
oh, this is great. Okay,
wait. You could just be. I have my next character now, bro. You are a samurai. No, not samurai. You are a sumo death cleric of Kelemvor, and you just go around just sumo palming people with Inflict Wounds, just like, and that's the only thing you use your spell slots for. Well, maybe you do what is it, spiritual guardians, and then you just run around with your spiritual guardians, do necrotic damage to them like that, and then freaking sumo.
So here's the other thing. Do you even take 18th, 19th level in this cleric, or do you go into something else like fighter? You go champion so you can crit more often on Inflict Wounds.
That might be the only dude. Yeah, you can combine 2nd level champion to get or 3rd level champion to get. Oh, but you have to go. You have to go at least 3 levels just to get that. And
hear me out. You go champion first, so you can take heavy armor.
That's true. You go champion first, or not even champion, just fighter. You go fighter first. You get because what class features do they even get that might be worth it? Let's see. Let's see real quick. They get yeah, for sure. You for sure want to go fighter first and then into cleric, and then like you get up to 3rd level fighter maybe, and then you just keep going cleric from then on until you get to 17th level.
So dumb.
Dude, that's phenomenal, bro.
Again, though, you're still fucked because your only good spell is
Inflict Wounds. Well, it's fine. It's like that's what they want. It's like not even just your own good spell. Because again, even with clerics, they have such broken, busted spells. You literally activate Spirit Guardians, and then you run up to them. They automatically get hit, and then you hit them with your sumo Inflict Wounds slap.
Oh wow.
Dude, next character confirmed, bro. I'm gonna make that right after this. Screw it, dude. That's freaking hilarious. See, I don't know what you're talking about when you chose this sub. This subclass is pretty good, actually, when you think about it. Like all of this stuff gets pretty good, Hey,
oh man, this is so dumb. Yeah, if you want to be like the one, you do one thing.
Yeah, I mean, not just one. You also have healing. You got plenty of other. As a cleric, you just have so much versatility.
Dude, all I'm doing is using high-level spell slots to make
Exactly
undead,
for
make undead,
make undead.
and then everything 5th and below is for inflict wounds, so I can benefit from the hit 2 people.
Yeah,
So I'm just running around with zombies. Just
nah, bro. I was gonna say I'm using all my spell slots just for inflict wounds. Like screw the undead. I'm using my 9th level spell slot for inflict wounds. That's what I'm doing, bro. I'm gonna run up to a dude and just inflict wound and then crit. I get a crit on a 19 or a 20 with inflict wounds along with wait. Channel divinity, touch of death. I have I have at least 2 channel divinities at that point. And then it's twice my cleric level. So I'd be 17. So that means I'd be 34. So it would be 39 extra points of necrotic damage along with that crit. And then I can target 2 of them.
So it'd be it's 3d10 plus each level. So it would be plus 8d10.
And you only have to make 1 roll.
So it would be 11d10.
Yeah.
Yep. Crit. So you double your dice.
No. It would be even more for inflict wounds.
It's 11 because its first level spell is 3, and then you add 1 for each level above first, so you add 8.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, you're right. 11.
So it's 11.
So it'd be 22 then.
Be 22 d10.
It would be 22 d10 worth of necrotic. Yeah, that's insane. I mean, again, inflict wounds is a busted spell baseline, and they be you get 11, you get 22 d10 plus 39 points of necrotic damage, plus you can target. Targets only 1 creature. You can instead target 2 creatures in range. Now, it doesn't specifically say you have to roll separate attack rolls for each of them. No,
I think you hit both.
Yeah, the one attack hit. So if you crit, that automatically hits both of them. So you can deal again 22 d10 worth plus 39 worth of necrotic damage to 2 creatures within 5 feet of each other in 1 attack. And it ignores resistance to necrotic damage. Now, again, you could only probably do that twice at that level because of the channel divinity or whatever, but still, you can do some uber stuff, bro.
I need to know if you would have to roll attacks twice with that. Because it allows you to target.
It doesn't say because it's
I think because target means you just
because it doesn't because even with twin spell it specifically says you have to roll 2 separate attacks against them, right? That's
shit. So that's fucking amazing.
That's what twin spell says.
Oh no,
I'm gonna go
worst.
That's fantastic. It's the best. I told you. I was like, I don't know why you're choosing this one as yours.
How do we combine our 2 bad picks into something that's amazing?
I mean, again, to be fair, Champion's still pretty bad because it's we can't do it the opposite way. But it's the fact that Death Cleric has potential. It just needed a little extra oomph. Well, no, the fact that we combined the 2 though was fantastic. I can't believe it either.
No, the fact of the matter is the one thing this class needed was heavy armor.
Yeah, a heavy armor and maybe a higher crit chance too would be great. Would be perfect. Heavy armor and a higher crit chance.
We did it. Oh no!
Twin spell. Target a second creature. Okay, no. I mean, I guess.
Oh no!
When you cast it, only 1 creature. I guess technically you would have to roll twice then, because twin spell also says when you cast a spell that targets only 1 creature. And you can spend to increase the spell level to target a 2nd creature within range.
No, I guess it would be 2 separate.
Yeah, I guess it would be 2 separate attacks.
It's still just the damage you're gonna put out.
Yeah,
because that's one down.
It's still being able to spread.
It's the one downside of inflict wounds is that you can only hit 1 person.
Yeah,
because it's a great spell, it does great damage. But it's all single target. You have no area of effect whatsoever.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. That's why it's so effective too, because you're just channeling all of that just intense necrotic energy into 1 creature. But again, with this ability, you can target at least 2 creatures close together. Yeah, again, you have to make 2 separate rolls, but that still means you increase the chance of potentially critting on one of them still because you roll twice. That's fantastic, dude. Phenomenal.
I'm gonna have to tell my buddy about this and see if I let me play it. Man.
Well, we just told a lot of people about this potentially now if they get to this point.
Oh my god,
that's phenomenal. Well, you guys witnessed it here. I think this might be a first ever in D&D history, I think, where
At least for us.
I mean, hey, I'm willing to put money down. I don't know if anybody else has ever thought of this particular thing. They may have, but I'm saying they haven't. Overall, we have come up with one of the most amazing and incredible combination builds in D&D history. The champion death sumo wrestler cleric.
So dumb. It's so dumb.
Thank you guys so much for watching, for tuning in. If you guys liked and enjoyed it, please be sure to again to like, comment down below some of
your stupid builds that shouldn't work,
what dumb stupid things have you guys kind of come up with for D&D builds, you know, either multi-class or single class, whatever. We love to hear it. Please be sure to subscribe, share it with your friends, the channel. We love it. Would be highly appreciated. Thanks again so much, you guys, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
See y'all.
Ah! God damn it, dude.